We are back.
We're back.
And today, going to talk about something really important to us because we're men of details. And the idea is that the devil is in the details.
The devil is in the details. Isn't that the truth, man?
What does that mean to you?
You need to pay attention to the details because it's extremely important. And the detail, I think if you pay attention to the details, you maintain your standards. Okay? Nowadays, in order to succeed, I believe that standards have to be very high because you're being scrutinized from every angle. You got social media, you got cell phones, everybody's got one. So somebody could be recording you.
Competition's fierce.
Fierce.
Also.
And you have to be on your game at all times. If you're representing something out there.
Yeah, because everything is being recorded now.
Everything.
Let's open up with that story about our friend at one of our favorite cafes. Well, he's become cool with us.
Right.
And we go there often, and we noticed the detail. And it was when we got the receipt after having our coffee, our breakfast. He brought us the receipt, and it was on a little paper clip.
Yes.
And he put it on the table, but he didn't put it properly, and so it fell to the ground.
Right.
And so he picked it up from the ground and walked away.
Yes.
He took the receipt back. And I said, did you notice that, Dad? And you said, yeah. He said, I said, he's not going to put it on our table because it fell to the ground.
He actually went to the cash register and printed a new one and then brought it back.
And then it was something that we usually, we always observing, we like that. But then you addressed it. You told it to him.
Yeah.
And you're like, hey, we noticed that you didn't put it on the table because it fell. He's like, oh, yeah, I would never do that.
He said to you or anybody else.
Right.
Because now we've taken a liking to each other.
Correct.
He's a very cool cat.
But it's the details.
Yeah.
Because if he takes that much care on something like that, then I think behind the scenes he's also taking a high level of care. If an egg fell on the ground, a little egg on the plate, if something, I would think also he's going to have that same level of care.
And it's extremely important because, for example, let's say you have an allergy to peanuts or something like that, and you're cooking with peanut oil or something of this nature, you
Correct.
know.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You can't use the same
spatula.
Yeah, you can't. Or, the skillet or whatever you call it.
Oh, yeah.
Because, potentially, somebody could have an allergic reaction. Or if you can't eat shrimp or lobster or things of this nature. So I think that the devil's in the details. It says it, you have to nowadays be very careful with the things that you do. And like I say, if you keep an eye on details, you maintain your standards.
Yeah.
You got to put your standards way up there.
Yes. And when you look at somebody who's, let's say, financially successful or successful in their, let's say financially, they're people of detail. They notice things. Like, let's go to another restaurant setting. You see the owner of a restaurant, and even though they may be sitting with us, our good friend Abel.
Yes.
Even though he may be sitting with us, the moment someone walks in, his eyes, he's able to multitask. He's still in our conversation, but he's making sure that person is being addressed.
Being taken care of.
Yeah,
he's everywhere, actually.
Very detailed.
Yeah, and, normally, if I'm having a conversation with someone and they do that to me, I would consider that extremely rude. However, with him, I let it go by because I realize that he's there because he wants to spend time with us, but he's keeping constant. He's everywhere.
Yes.
He's everywhere. He's seeing everything. A table that needs to be moved in order to accommodate a bigger party. Another person that hasn't been served yet, or, and they've been sitting down for a couple of minutes. Okay, send somebody over there.
Yeah.
He's all over the place. So, it's very interesting. And even yesterday, when was it? Over the weekend, on Sunday morning, we went to see our good buddy at his restaurant also.
Oscar. And his family, yeah.
And
he
his
same
family.
thing. He
Same
was sitting
thing.
with us, but he was also keeping an eye on what's going on.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
he sat strategically. For example, there was more room on my side for him to sit on than on your side. Yet he chose to sit next to you. And I couldn't figure that initially. And you know why? Because he had a clear view to the front door.
Mm.
And so every time somebody walked in, his job was to, take care of them. So he would say to us, "Excuse me for a second, I need to," and he would walk. So initially, when he sat down, I couldn't figure out why he sat next to you when there was such little space, and I had a bunch of space on mine.
Yeah.
And it's because he had a clear, unobstructed view to the front door. So anytime a client would come in, he would say, "Excuse me for a second." He would go take care of the client. He said, not how many, blah, blah, blah. We'll sit you down.
He's excellent.
That's Oscar.
Oscar shared something with me and Felipe, and they grew up in the restaurant business, so it's second nature to them. But Oscar shared something with me one time that I thought was so interesting in a restaurant setting.
What's
and
that?
Maybe you heard it. He says, look, a restaurant needs to turn tables, right? That's how they make money. You sit down. I mean, unless it depends the restaurant. But he was explaining like not like a fancy, restaurant. Just your restaurant, good traditional Mexican food. So you need to move people. They can't be sitting there for 3 hours. And the Hispanics like to sit down and talk and whatever. So what he was sharing is that one of the things, and it's psychological, a server should come up to the table and not pressure the table. But the moment that there's an empty plate, Hispanics like to talk, and maybe other cultures too, like to talk and everything and hang out, maybe sip on whatever, a beer. But the moment there's an empty plate, you take the plate, you clean the area. And so psychologically, if there are a bunch of empty plates in front of you, you think you can kind of hang out.
Right.
But when you have no food in front of you, no empty plates,
it's time to go.
It's you either order something new, we'll take a dessert, I'll take another drink.
Correct.
Now you're generating revenue, or it's time for you to go psychologically because you're being tended to. And so I thought that was so interesting because they're
very
details.
Cool. Yeah, very cool.
That one doesn't think of.
Right, and you do it tactfully so that you don't let the people, the family, the person feel like they're being pressured out. Because I've been to a couple places where I felt I'm being pressured out.
We went somewhere recently.
Chipotle.
Well, Chipotle was one, but we went another place and had coffee and breakfast recently, and the gentleman was rushing us so much.
Oh, yeah.
Even I didn't
it's
feel
unpleasant.
Comfortable. Yes, and I understand. They're busy. The other side is I understand, right? They got a lot. They're attending to a lot of people. They want to bring more people in. But this person did it in a way that it did feel like I was being rushed.
Yeah, it was unpleasant.
It was unpleasant. Yeah. Go. You don't want this in? Okay, boom. Yeah. And it was like, it didn't give you a moment to.
Right.
And the details matter. And we were sharing about the Chipotle.
Oh.
The Chipotle situation. With Chipotle, sometimes they rush you at the line.
Sometimes I feel very rushed. I even tell the gentleman, "Excuse me, let me think for a second. Let me gather my thoughts."
My mind doesn't go that quickly.
Yeah. Just chill for a second.
Yeah. Sebastian Maniscalco the comedian has a really good bit on Chipotle.
Yeah.
We'll link it up.
Okay.
So people can get a good laugh.
Good. Yeah.
But he's like, yeah, man, these people, they're working them so hard. They're just like,
Well, the thing with Chipotle, you can share it because it happened to you. The manager is pretty good, but when tell.
Yeah, the manager's good. He's keeping an eye on everything. When I get to the register, right before the register, they always ask you any chips or drink. That's just their thing. Any chips or drink. But this time, I'm looking at him because I get up to him, kind of like a buffet line or whatever. I get up to him and he asked me chips or drink. But when I looked at him, he was looking over my head and he was looking at the entrance of the Chipotle. He wasn't looking at me.
No eye contact
whatsoever.
No eye
contact. It was right over my head, and I thought that was interesting because
You're talking
It
to the
didn't.
wall.
It didn't feel good. You know, it didn't feel good because you make eye contact with people. We brought that up to our buddy, and he's like, maybe he was having a bad day. Of course, we're human. We all have bad days. I'm not gonna hold it.
Right, right.
However,
No.
I did feel different because he wasn't. He didn't even. The way I felt for a moment was like, I'm not even worthy of his eye contact, which is silly. But look, our good buddy Sean, who works in 5-star hotels.
Oh.
Those details matter. You need to make eye contact. And he shared with me, when you're talking to a guest at the hotel, and these are high level, beautiful hotels, 5-star hotels.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking to that person, and you make that person feel like that's the only thing that matters in that moment, that conversation.
Well, I still remember the tour he gave us.
Of the Waldorf. Waldorf Astoria?
Yeah, tremendous.
Beverly Hills. Yeah.
Oh, everything
cool.
is spotless. Everything is, you got pots that are strategically placed like 4 or 5 inches off a corner because that's where the pot's gonna shine more based on the lighting and this. And I mean, it was just an incredible thing, and that's paying attention to details like to the maximum capacity. That's like, I mean, that's,
interior decoration.
You would think it's overboard, but no.
No, I mean, all those details matter, and a lot of it is psychological. Like, I remember reading McDonald's has hard chairs on purpose. When you go to a McDonald's, you don't get a nice comfy booth. It's a plastic hard booth on purpose. And those red chairs, now maybe they've updated it since, but I understood that was because they don't want you comfortable at the McDonald's. They don't want you hanging out.
To eat and get out.
It's fast food. They don't want you to hang out for 3 hours there. So it's uncomfortable chairs.
Well, like yesterday we picked up this listing, right? A commercial building. And we went to the coffee place that we've never been before. And it was just, it was a really good experience. But the tables were too close to each other.
Oh, yeah.
Remember? And the gentleman next to us actually hurt himself with one of them because they're beautiful. They have that steel, what do you call it? Like that raw look or whatever. And one of the corners has not been polished enough. And so when he tried to move it, he cut himself.
Right. It's wood table with like metal around it.
Yeah, which is beautiful.
Yeah.
Nicely done. Great taste.
He was bringing up that it wasn't set up properly. It was too close also. Yeah.
They could do, and I thought they could get away with getting rid of one of the tables so they could create a little more space, right?
But those details matter.
To a certain extent, yeah.
Yeah, they do. They do.
Yeah. And, I mean, we eat out a lot because of the nature of our businesses.
Yeah.
And so our other good friend over here in Claremont with his restaurant, he was telling me that they own another restaurant which is very, high class, so to speak. And
high end.
High end, and the food there.
Fine dining.
Fine dining to the max, and so and specialized drinks. And so he was sharing with both of us that right there, in that particular place, the clientele that go there are not concerned about the cost of anything. That what they want is the experience. And the experience gets multiplied 100-fold by the person that's delivering it.
Right.
And so that particular server, right, needs to be at another level. And I thought it was quite unique. And I listened to everything that he was saying because he's right, and they're right. And they're doing exceedingly well. And that's because they trained their people. And they have specialized drinks that are out of this world.
Yeah.
Light blue, dark blue, purple color drinks.
Yeah, they've gotten into the liquors, and they create these like an old fashioned, I believe is it's a whiskey.
Okay.
It's made of whiskey, but it's got other and I don't know all the details of what it has, but it has other things in it that create an old fashioned. I don't know if they're bitters. I'm not sure the details of it, but the point is that it's they like pre-mix these things, I believe, and let them age and everything, and apparently it's like exquisite. I had a drink there uh, a long time ago. It was a whiskey sour, I think it was. It was the best whiskey sour I had ever had. Not that I drink that all the time or anything, but it just, the presentation was beautiful. It had a really nice big glass.
That's another thing.
A whiskey glass. With a huge cube, one big cube.
Oh wow!
Just a big square cube, and that was in there. And then it came with another little glass jar that had the actual mixture already, and so they poured you the cup that came with alcohol already, and then you had another, so you can keep pouring. It was a very big drink. I remember drinking. I couldn't finish it actually. But some people.
There's another place. People want the experience, and
it's a beautiful experience. Some people do gas. What is it? Liquid nitrogen coming out.
Can you believe it? That's amazing.
It looks.
I wonder what that stuff tastes like. I've never.
Well, it's just liquid nitrogen. I think.
To cool it.
Yeah, right? To give it that.
Yeah, that foamy or whatever. It's incredible.
Yeah,
there was one place I was watching online. I'm on social media a lot, and they actually, now that you said that, they brought like a piece of ice that was larger than normal, but within the ice there was the liquor, and as you put the ice in the drink, it releases the liquor slowly as the ice starts melting and cracking.
Oh, that's interesting.
Oh man, let me tell you. I mean,
that's interesting. I've also seen
crazy.
It'd be great to have a bartender that we can talk to, and they can share.
They're sharp, man. They need to be quick, fast, mix those drinks, just like a coffee.
I've seen also
barista.
Yes,
we should.
I've seen also. Yeah, that would be great. I've seen also where they burn the wood with a torch. They cover the wood. They have like a wood little platform. They cover it with a glass, and then the smoke kind of infuses into the glass somehow.
Oh my goodness.
And then they pour the drink into that smoky cup, and so you're sipping on it, and it's a smoky wood flavored whiskey or whatever.
It's gotta be great. I'm not a drinker like that.
Yeah. What's that called? There's a name for it where. But the point is that the details matter, because if you have a little bit too much of the simple syrup, or if you have a little bit too much of the smoke, or it's going to completely change the drink. And
we should invite your friend Randy to come out.
Yeah, he was a bartender. I think that how you do one thing is how you do everything. Now, let's say that's a little bit extreme, but there's a correlation at least.
But details are extremely important in every field.
Everything.
Let me share a quick story with you that I just read, and it blew my mind. There was this, they asked this attorney, this high caliber attorney that had been working for many years, what was your most interesting experience in a court? And he said, the most interesting experience I ever had was a trial on a murder. And I worked myself up to my presentation at the end, my wrapping up with the jury, and I had done a good job. There, in this particular murder case, they had not found the body. Okay, so he goes up to the jury to do his closing statement, and he says, "Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, within 60 seconds, okay." The person that we believe that has been killed or that has been deceased in this particular murder trial is going to come in through those doors within 60 seconds. And everybody in the jury box looked at the door. Okay? And the 60 seconds went by, and the attorney said, well, guess what? You all have, what's it called?
Reasonable doubt.
Reasonable doubt. Because every single one of you looked at that door. So you must bring in a verdict of not guilty because you all have reasonable doubt. So to make the story short, they all go into chambers, and they came out. By the time they came out, they came out with a verdict of 100% guilty. And so the attorney couldn't believe it. And he goes up to the people and says, hey, you all looked at the door. You know, you all had reasonable doubt. How can you come up with a verdict of not guilty? I mean, of guilty. And they told him, well, you know what? We all did look at the door. But you know who didn't look? Your defendant. Your defendant knew that that person was not going to come in through the door.
Wow. That's powerful.
So guilty. And I thought, oh my God. And you talk about details, because look, they were looking at the door, but they still saw that the defendant was just sitting there, you know, looking up at the ceiling or whatever, but he didn't turn to look at the door. So the verdict came back. Isn't that something? And that's the power of details, because they picked up on that. And you know, I told you the story now, so you probably think in hindsight, yeah, he didn't turn around, but in the process of doing all this, how do you pick something like that up? You know?
Yeah.
So yes, the devil's in the details, man. That's an absolutely incredible story.
Super. and I think that in order to get ahead in life, and like, we have to be detailed. I mean, you've always said that organization is the key to success, right? But part of being organized is being detailed.
Yeah.
And it's something that I know I can improve at.
We all can.
Sure. But details matter. People, I like to observe people. We'll be in a conversation and you kind of can see people's body language or their tone.
Yeah.
And sometimes we'll be in a conversation, let's say 3 of us, you, me, and another person. And it's interesting, the details, like you can see somebody where their eyes go. Are they paying attention to you? What are they, they're saying one thing, what are they actually feeling?
What do they mean?
What do they mean?
It's very cool.
And that's one thing that in business and in sales, you have to be attentive to the details.
Correct.
But any industry, right? Anyone in customer service of, you're looking up at something. So anyone in customer service or like in the food industry or anything like that.
Absolutely.
Anyways.
Okay.
We'll wrap it up.
We'll wrap it up right there.